Hi, welcome back to the channel. I thought today, because we're in isolation, I spend a little bit of time chatting about what we can do, what we can't do. A lot of people during this coronavirus are moaning about we can't go out, we can't do this, we can't do that. Don't think about what you can't do, because you can't change it. Think about what you can do. And martial art training, Wing Chun training is something that you can still do. Yes, you can't do Chi Sao. Very hard. You can't do partner work. You can't get feedback from your instructor directly. But with technology today, we've got Zoom, we've got Skype, we've got YouTube, we've got lots of technologies where we can share as best as we can 2D elements of Wing Chun. We know it's a 3D interactive, close protection, close quarter, get in close to your partner type of martial art. It's a very, very close quarter thing, but that's not available. And it's a 3D thing, showing you shapes and positions from a camera is very, very different to you being able to walk around and look at it and position it. But it is better than nothing. So let's think about what we can do. Think about some what we can train in isolation. Think about the elements that we can benefit from. Because if we work through our forms, Sunim Tao Cham Kyu Byu Ji, wooden dummy, knives, maybe even the pole, as we're training through these, doing some drills, working on the wall bag, as we're working through these, we can refine our shapes, we can refine our positions, and it should be, by the time this is over, and it will be over, by the time we're all released and actually not, breaking the isolation that's so important to keep everybody safe. Going back to Sunim Tao then. So you've got your tarns on the centre line to here, and what we're looking at, and the thing that makes it work, is the fact that the triceps and the biceps align vertically, one above the other, and that's what makes it function. So when we do Tarn Sao in application, to do Tarn Sao with a punch but to push outwards like a block is ridiculous. But if you put your hands here and put your fingers in there, there is no muscle group. The muscles are on the top, the muscles are predominantly underneath, there's nothing on the side. So to push outwards is highly inefficient. Tarn Sao is best in this direction because that's what supports the tricep, the biceps are one above the other. That's the way they work, like a piston action. So rather than pushing out with Tarn Sao, when you're doing turning Tarn punch, you turn with the legs. It's the legs that do the turning. So if a punch is received here, it's going to try and collapse you. Their force is going to try and push in towards you because they're trying to get past your wrist to your body, your face. So rather than, when a contact point is made here, rather than letting it collapse, train your Sunim Tao to the point where your elbow becomes static, and when that force comes in, use it. Let the force at that point be the reason why this shoulder goes back, which is why we turn. Okay, that reason, as it pushes it back, rather than let the gap change here, let the force, their force, turn you backwards. As it's turning you backwards here, it's also turning that forward. So we take the force here, let them turn us, take the force across and back. So the force comes down here, across here, and is returned. And unlike any bank that I've ever come across, we give interest. So we don't just turn with it, we just give a little bit of force back. So Tarn Sao is really important to understand. That's why in Sunim Tao it's in there. Garn Sao, some people will sweep, some people will cut. I was taught to cut down this way. Because if something's coming in low, I'm going to reposition my body out of the way and redirect the force. Not cut. First of all, leaving the centre line exposed and going off the centre line in order to come back means I've got to be twice as fast as my opponent. And secondly, I'm then blocking something this way. And I would never do that. Never ever block. I see people on the wooden dummy going Gan Sao across, Kung Sao across, Tarn Sao across. But if you think about it logically, and this is all I ever ask you to do, and again, I'm not saying I'm right, they're wrong, this is what I do. If a punch is coming in this direction and I block it, I might block the arm, but I haven't blocked the momentum. They're still travelling. So if you're driving a car on a motorway or freeway, whatever country you're in, driving the motorway down a motorway at 70 miles an hour, legal speed obviously, could be wrong not to. And if you're driving down at high speed and you do that, what's going to happen? What's going to happen is that your whole car is going to try and turn the corner. Okay? It's going to turn the corner. But because of the momentum, it's going to carry on travelling and rolling in the direction that you were originally going. So same with the person. Person throws an aggressive punch in here. You know what? You might move their arm out of the way, but their body is still going in that direction. So they just shoulder barge and fall over into you, headbutt you. Whether it's a deliberate through training or accidental through the fact you just knocked them out of the way, you've then got this aggressor knocking you over. Not going to help. You're driving a car at speed, you always try and gently turn it away. And that's what I want to do in an opponent. They're coming towards me. I want to make contact, redirect it, pass them down the side, and let them run on the end and punch. Because I'm quite a lazy person. I don't want to do any more work than I have to. So yes, I'm going to give them some force, but I'm going to allow them to run in and face butt my fist. Because they kind of deserve it, you know. And I'm a generous person. I believe in giving back. So Tan Sao here. Bong Sao, as I said before, lifts, and then Pak Sao, push across. Just to the shoulder, no further. The last one I'm going to discuss today is Fuk Sao. Fuk Sao is what class one of the 3 C's of Wing Chun. And Fuk Sao relaxes in. Don't force it. Don't twist the body and distort the shape. Just try and relax the muscles, and eventually you may get to the point where your arms can go into the centre line. Okay? And if they can't, you know what? That's your build. But just because you're physically not able to get your elbows all the way in the centre line doesn't mean that you shouldn't keep striving for it and working towards it. But at the same time, don't lose sleep and panic because or get upset or give in because you can't. I remember, and I hate quoting Yip Man stories and stuff because I've never met the guy. In the same as I hate is too strong a word. I see a lot of people saying they teach Yip Man Wing Chun, and they're 23 years old and they've never met him in their entire life, and they think they're representing him, but nobody can represent him. I can't represent him, and I train under his eldest son. My friends who train under the late Yip Ching, they can't represent Yip Man either. Not even Yip Man students can represent Yip Man, is the honest truth, because only Yip Man can do it. So nobody teaches Yip Man Wing Chun but Yip Man. I know it's a marketing thing, and I get it, and I know you want to build your school and be more traditional, authentic, but you know what? You're not Yip Man. I'm not Yip Man. I don't teach Yip Chun Wing Chun either. Simple as that. I teach my Wing Chun, my interpretation of what I was taught by him. And it's not an exact replica because I'm not him. My background is different to his, my build is different to his, my mentality, my age, and everything else that makes us what we are, makes us unique, is unique. But one of the stories I was told by my Sifu, take it as a story, I have no idea about the actual fact, not doubting him, but we know what stories are like. People quote Yip Man, I see on Facebook all the time. Yip Man said, how do you know? He didn't teach Westerners, you didn't speak anything but Cantonese, and he died long before you were born, and then even your teacher might not speak English, so how do we know? But the story I was told anyway, with regards to that, was the fact that he apparently had a student who could never get his elbows in because he was a hairdresser. And so for him, he had to learn a way of doing chi sao and application very differently, because that was never something he did. He couldn't relax into it. His elbows was elbow. And I've got students who are hairdressers, and they do have the same thing. That they spend all time cutting hair with their elbows out. So to get them to do this is a hell of an achievement. To get them to get here may happen, may not. But you know what? I'm not going to give them any hassle or pressure because they can't do it. I just keep them working towards what their goal is. And so to wind up today, that's probably the message to give to everybody. Don't ever worry about, am I doing it perfectly? I don't do it perfectly. I don't know anybody does it perfectly, and I certainly don't know anybody, including myself, that can't improve. But improvement is about putting time and effort in. That's what Kung Fu means. It's about being patient with yourself. It's about working around who you are, any injuries you have, your body build, your mentality, your age, your amount of free time. For most of us, including myself, I have a full-time job. Wing Chun is a passion. It's a hobby. It's not my living. And even though it is a living, they have families, you have other people going on. Wing Chun is not the most important thing in your life. You are not fighting for your life. Okay? So be patient with yourself. We've got all this time in isolation to enjoy. Use it. Train at home. This is my little room. I've got my mirrors here. Pair of mirrors. I very deliberately got 2 mirrors because there's a joint down the middle, so when I stand in front of the mirror I can see my own personal centre line as a reference line. I've got my wall bag here. I've got another wall bag up there full of ball bearings that you can't see. I have my wooden dummy here, and I've got numerous short poles. My long pole is at my gym, but I probably would actually break the garage or break the back window of my car down there if I tried to use that one. But I can still practice that. And obviously I've got Barchando. I've got a really heavy pair here, which, you know, when you really want to work out, these are the best knives that you can work out on. They're really heavy. And because I'm a bit of a wuss, and I like to practice an awful lot, and I don't want to be able to not work and not do my job. I have an aluminium pair which I can train all my movements an awful lot, very simply, and I can do them a lot. So that's my little room. It's all I need. I've got a bit of laminate floor in my garage, which my neighbours thought was quite funny. I couldn't work out what the hell I was doing that for. But this is my training room. You don't need an awful lot of room. My garage is half full of, behind the camera is full of crap and rubbish and stuff like that. It's not a kitchen, that's just storage area. But my dummy is freestanding, which is great. It means I can move it around. You don't need a dummy. Don't go out and buy one. You can do all the stuff that you can train solo in a piece of space. You don't need full-size mirrors. Okay, you don't need to have a pair of knives. You've got hands if you want to. You can still train. There are things that you can do, and in this time of isolation, when we've got more time than we've ever had before, forced upon us admittedly, in quite sort of psychologically and mentally sort of demanding times, because isolation is really hard. Not being able to go out looking out the window and wanting to be out in the sun, but not being able to socialise, and where for me this time is perfect. I was built for this time. Social isolation is brilliant. I've got so much time to do what I want to do. For a lot of people are struggling. So this training just for an hour a day gives you that mental focus, that little bit of well-being, that little bit of take your mind off everything else that's going on, whether it's whether you're being furloughed, whether your job's at jeopardy, whether you've lost a job, whether you're having to fight to keep your job, whether you're looking after your family, whether you can afford to. There's so many stresses in life, and I feel sorry for everybody out there that's going through all these troubled times. It's but let's stick to the rules. Let's isolate. Let's not go out and break the rules, because all we're doing is we're spreading more germs across. The germs travel through people. They don't travel on their own. So if we're not meeting, it's not traveling. The faster we stay at home, the quicker the virus is over. The quicker it's over, the quicker we get back to some sense of normality. I don't know what that new normal will be, but you know what? Wing Chun has gone through many times. If you read the stories, Yip Man went through the Japanese World War II and was persecuted and had lots of trouble. And then there was communist revolution came through and forced a lot of people at that time out in Hong Kong. Then he was in poverty in Hong Kong. It hasn't stopped him training, hasn't stopped teaching, hasn't stopped Yip Man lineage coming out through the world. And I accept there are other lineages as well, and I'm sure they've gone through their hard times. We will go through hard times as well. But you know what? It's about making the most of what you have got and not stressing about what you haven't got. So Wing Chun for me is a little avenue. It's a mental and physical path, and I hope this video gives you some little tips. My email address, sifo@wingchun.co.uk. If you've got any questions, feel free. All I ask is don't come battering with criticism. It's not your way of doing it. You know what? It's not your way. If you don't enjoy it, hey, I'm not here to try and please the world. I'm here to share little bits that between 1989 and today, I've been to Hong Kong, 47 times training, trained for 6.5 weeks at a time, going down to about 2 weeks, depending on when I went out there, multiple times during the year. I've been very, very lucky to gain the information I've got. If it's useful to you, enjoy it and use it. And if it's not useful to you, there are other videos out there. There are other instructors that might do it the way that suits you. I'm not trying to force you down my avenue. This is just the way that I do it. So on that, I'm going to wish you good day, enjoy, and I'll see you in the next video.